What's going on, guys? It's your boy Chucky here, back for another video. This time it's my first Diablo video, and know myself, I'm not expert at Diablo games because Diablo 4 is my very first Diablo game I played from the whole game series. So it's gonna be more like an amateur guide than a professional guide, okay? So I still want to share this with you guys because it helped me a lot. I kind of struggled at first, like staying alive. I dealt like ton of damage and stuff. But I died very often. I was like constantly getting one hit by fucking elite mobs and stuff. That started getting really annoying. So I started messing up with builds, and I found out something that I enjoy myself a lot. It's not anything special. It kind of lacks a little bit of damage, but that is actually replaced with the fact that you are undying with this build. Okay? So here are a few clips wiping out entire floor of mobs. It's also really good against bosses, but obviously you need to dodge, and sometimes you need to use the potion because it's mostly like against hordes, not single boss, you know. But here are a few clips and let them roll. Ability, and then you want to go to the advanced one on it. It's not that easy on controller, sorry. Here, that gives you gain 2 energy when puncture damage a crowd controlled enemy, which is really nice. And then you want the fundamental puncture. Puncture now throws 3 blades in spread, each dealing 35% of its base damage. Hitting an enemy with at least 2 blades at once makes them vulnerable for 2 seconds, which is exactly what we want. And obviously this is gonna be really nice thing to have. Making every single enemy vulnerable with this build is a piece of cake. And now we come to the key part here of making everything invulnerable is flurry. So what flurry does is unleashes a flurry of stabs and slash head, striking enemy in front of you 4 times and dealing a total of 561 damage. Well, 60% damage to each. And well, then you see the combo point increase damage and grants an attack speed bonus, so 1 point increase that much, blah blah blah. Obviously the 3 points is must have, and we come to the how do we get this combo point thing soon. And next what we want to do is well, this one you can ignore, like try upgrading first, but what you want is Strudy. You gain close damage reduction, and then you wanna actually invest this a lot of in this, because we're gonna do a lot of great. So what you want is Siphoning Strikes. Heal for 3% of your maximum life, 29, when you critically strike a close enemy, which is really good, with the damage reduction. And this is an actually early game build, so you don't see a lot of investment from me, because, well, obviously I'm just level 45 right now, well, 46 with my rogue right now. And we have here critical strikes, an enemy grants 10% movement speed for 4 seconds. It's really good. It's not necessary, but it's really good, and I would recommend that put that aside and leave that, like, to be one of your last upgrades you're gonna do. And then one thing we want is Caltrops? I'm not sure if I pronounced it right, so really sorry for my bad English, by the way. I will do my best to make you guys understand my English. So you have 2 charges of this, each have 12-second cooldowns, and it has like a hit chance. 26% leap backwards and throw Cultron on the ground, dealing 325 to 405, 40% damage, and slowing enemies by 50% last 6 seconds, which is fucking insane. And then we want Enchant Caltrops. Enemies take 3% increased damage from you each second they are in Caltrops, and this is the key point for this, why we want this one. And then we come here with Discipline Caltrops. You have 5% critical strike chance against enemies inside your Caltrops. Double this amount against vulnerable enemies, and this is one of those, again, one of those key abilities you want to have, because first you use Caltrops, you use Puncture, you hit one enemy, make them vulnerable, and then you're gonna use Flurry. Every enemy you hit will be vulnerable, and you will double the amount, you get 10% critical strike chance against all of them. And this is not necessary yet, but it is nice to have, depending on what you're using, daggers or sword. But pretty much bows are 100% useless with this build. This is completely close range melee build. And the next thing you want is a poison trap. Place a trap that arms after 1.5 seconds. It activates when an enemy moves within range, applying 344% poisoning damage over 9 seconds to enemies in the area. And what we want is Enchant Poison Trap. Poison Trap knock down enemies for 1.53 seconds. It is actually really nice. If I'm not mistaken, this also works on elites, but not bosses. And then we want countering Poison Trap. Poison Trap has 30% chance to reset your influence skill cooldown when activated. And that is must have. Because we are not using Poison Influence, so we are not going for 10% increased poison damage. But we are using Shadow Influence damage to all surrounding enemies. If the enemy infection expires before the enemy dies, it will deal 40% damage only to that enemy. And what we want from there next is Ancient Shadow Influence. You have 15% increased critical strike chance against injured enemies injected by Shadow Influence. And then we have Shadow Influence Primary Explosion. Makes enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds, which is nice. We would have this one here as well. Enemies infected by Shadow Influence takes 12% increased non-physical damage from you for 8 seconds, for example, like poison damage, etc, etc. But we don't want that. We do want this, making them vulnerable for more damage and critical from here. But that is obviously up to you. This is just my choice. You can make whatever you want from this. I think this would be a better with the poison trap, obviously. But yeah. And lucky hit shadow damage has up to 10% chance to stun for 0.5 seconds. And I'm not sure how much is it on max rank, but it's also pretty nice to have, because there is still that chance to stun. And what we missed is right here, one of those. So what you want is Exploit. You deal 8% increase damage to healthy and injured enemies. And then we have Malice. you deal 9% increased damage to vulnerable enemies at max rank. And this is obviously like max rank too. But this is also one of those key things, a really nice addition. And Deadly Venom is also pretty nice to have. You deal 9% increased poison damage. Because we are using Poison Trap here. So it's pretty nice. I also tested with Poison Imprint, but I figured out that Shadow Imprint actually deals more than Poison with this build. And for ultimate skill, we want Shadow Clone. Cooldown 60 seconds. Your shadow mimics your actions for 15 seconds. The Shadow Clone deals 8% of your damage. And then we want the Prime Shadow Clone. You are unstoppable for 5 seconds after casting a clone, which is really nice because you can't get crowd control or stunned or knocked down by elites while you use it. And then there is Supreme Shadow Clone. Your Shadow Clone deals an additional, I think I said it right for the first time, anyway, additional 20% of your damage, which is nice because it... Wait. Yes, because it raises it to 80%. And what we want here is also Trap Mastery. When Poison Trap or Death Trap activates, you gain 12% increased critical strike chance against vulnerable and crowd controlled enemies for 4 seconds, which is insane good. And something we want. Also, this is max rank, so that's why it's 12%. And that is definitely something you want to do on put on max rank. And from the key passives, we want Victimize, and you will see why we come to Victimize later on. Dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has up to 30% chance to cause an explosion, dealing 25% of the original damage to them and surrounding enemies, which is insane. And pretty high chance because every single time we are in combat, you are surrounded by vulnerable enemies. Every time, trust me. So you have pretty high chance with that 30%. And then we want Adrenaline Rush. While moving, you gain 10% increase energy regeneration. It is pretty nice to have. So you can just spam Flurry, depending on how your attack speed is and how fast you can trigger the three step on the combo. But that is not necessarily to have, actually, because you gain a lot of energy still. But I just invested here. Innervation is not must have, but it is also really nice. Lucky hit up to 10% chance to gain energy. And then we have non-physical damage deal. You deal has 5% increased lucky hit chance. And now we can come to what completes this build. And that, my friends, are the stuff. Oh yeah, specialization. Almost forgot. So specializations. You have 3 specializations. This unlocks at level 25, and you need to do a rogue quest thing, if I recall right. So first thing, we have combo points. Your basic skill now generates combo points. Core skill consumes combo points for additional effect, and as we here saw, we have 1 point, we got that much increased damage. That's around 50%, 2.30% bonus thing, and the bonus for the last is 45% on 3 points. It is pretty damn cool. Nice. Then we have Inner Side. Attacks market enemies to fill up your inner side. Courage, when it's full, gain unlimited energy for 4 seconds, and Preparation, every 100 energy you spend reduces your ultimate skill cooldown by 4 seconds. Using an ultimate skill resets the cooldown of your other skills, but those are something we don't need. We want combo points. And then we come to the main aspects you wanna have. So first is the imprinted, the flurry. Damage enemies in a circle around you and deal 8% max, 8 to 15% increased damage. Rogue only. So this is why we want flurry, because it will do the 360 area. Now, I'm not 100% sure where did get this one, but you get this from a dungeon. Where was it? I'm sorry, it's just, there. So we get this from a Forsaken Guarro in the Fractal's Peak dungeon. So go get yours as well. And then the next one is, where is it? Do we have it? They could on some. Where is it? Oh yeah, this also. And this is why we want the key passive victimized, as mentioned here. That explodes. So this is part of the good healing. Your healing factor, actually. So explosions from the victimized key passive heal you for 68, 57 to 103 life for each enemy damage, up to maximum of 205, 171 to 308 life. And that is quite insane and really damn nice. That is also one of those key things you need to be unkillable, alongside with your this passive right here, Zip on Strike. And then we have the last one, really nice, this one and this one, two actually last. So damaging a poison enemy with the Shadow Influence skill has up to 75% chance to create a toxic explosion that applies 99, 64 to 108 poison damage over 5 seconds to the target and surrounding enemies. And then we have this one. When casting an influence skill, you trigger an influence explosion around yourself, applying the influence effect on a and dealing 377, 135 to 462 damage of the same type. So that's why the shadow is nice, because when you trigger this like middle of enemies, all close enough will get that shadow status to them. And it's not have to be, but really to top it off, I'm using a lucky hit. Making an enemy vulnerable has up to 34%, 30 to 50% chance to grant 3% increased critical strike chance for 3 seconds, up to 9%, which is also pretty nice. And yeah, if you made this far, and if you find this build like good, helping you out on world tiers and against mobs, bosses, dungeons and stuff, leave a like, leave a comment, and thank you for watching, guys. This was my first Diablo video. Let's see if I make new ones. I try to get my PC back on so I can start streaming some Diablo 2. But for now, that's it for today. Peace out and check you out. Enjoy your night.